أصحاب السمو والمعالي والسعادة، أبناء مجتمعنا الغالي، حضور الإمارات الكرام، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، وحياكم الله معنا في الطريق إلى كوب 28.
Your Highnesses, Excellencies, esteemed international guests, and our beloved UAE community, thank you for joining us to kicking off the road to COP28 from the UAE to the world.
يمكن حد منكم يتساءل، مؤتمر كوب 28 باقي له 8 شهور، فليش نحن متحمسين من اليوم؟ أنا بقول لكم ليش. الإمارات لا تنظر لكوب على أنه مؤتمر وبينتهي، بل تنظر إليه كفرصة لزرع مبدأ الاستدامة بين أفراد المجتمع المحلي والعالمي. هذا المبدأ اللي ربانا عليه والدنا زايد الله يرحمه، هو اللي علمنا إن البيئة جزء من تراثنا ومستقبلنا، علمنا إن البيئة جزء منا.
Some of you might be wondering, if COP is happening 8 months from now, then what is all the excitement about today? Well, it's because the UAE does not see COP28 as a single moment. For us, COP is an opportunity to unite as a local and global community around the legacy of the late Sheikh Zayed, who taught us that the environment is an integral part of our heritage, present, and future.
المؤتمر ينعقد كل عام في دولة مختلفة، فشو اللي يخلي الاستضافة في دولة الإمارات مميزة؟ أنا بقول لك يا عيسى، اللي يخلي الاستضافة هذه السنة مميزة إن الوفود المشاركة بتساهم في شيء اسمه Global Stock Take، معناته إن الوفود بتراجع وين وصلت في تحقيق أهدافها، وبتنطلق منها كأساس للتخطيط بشكل أفضل لحماية كوكبنا. وهذا قد يطرح سؤال ثاني، هذا الدور يبدو أنه دور القادة، دور الرؤساء، العلماء، الوفود المشاركة. نحن كأفراد مجتمع، كشباب، شو دورنا؟ إجابة هذا السؤال هي بالضبط اللي جمعتنا في ساحة الوصل. قيادتنا مؤمنة أن كل صوت لازم يساهم في هذه النقاشات المصيرية. كل واحد منا عنده دور، مسؤولية ومبادرة ممكن أنه يقدمها لمواجهة هذا التحدي العالمي.
Yes, Maitha. COP is hosted every year in a different country. So what is unique about the UAE hosting COP this year? Well, for the first time ever, there will be a review of progress to assess the limits of global warming, known as the Global Stocktake, and chart a better course for our future. Also, you might be thinking now, isn't this the role of world leaders, experts? What can we as youth and members of the community do? This is exactly why we are here today. Because the UAE's leadership is committed in inclusivity when it comes to these specific discussions. Also, each one of us has an important role to play, and we have a responsibility to address this global challenge.
هذه السنة بتكون مليئة بالفرص بإذن الله، مليئة بالفرص لكل واحد منا إنه يترك بصمة تغير هذا العالم للأفضل. بس سؤالي لكم الحين، هل بتكونون ضمن هذه الفرص؟
Get ready for a year full of opportunities as we co-author a new narrative for our planet.
نعرف أنكم متحمسين، فما بنطول عليكم. من الفلبين ينضم إلينا الفنان الشاعر ميتا سارمينتو عشان يحكي لنا قصيدة عن تجربته مع التغير المناخي.
Thank you, Maitha. To kick off the event, we'd like to invite Meta Sarmiento, a born Filipino artist, to perform a spoken word poem about his personal experience with climate change. Please help us in welcoming Meta Sarmiento.
I'm a tropical island boy through and through. I was born and raised in the island of Guam. My parents immigrated from the Philippines, and now I live in the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. My life motto for the last few years has been from the sea to the stars. But Before the mountain peak, I spent my days by the mouth of the ocean. My childhood was salt water and wind. My teenage years warmed by a sun that hung like a ripe mango in the sky. But in my adulthood, I realized I wasn't just standing on a beach anymore, but on the front lines in the battle against climate change. When you hear that the Pacific Islands could disappear in your lifetime, you begin to worry for your region. You start to draw connections between environmental degradation and mass production. You start to see relationships between pollution and the health of your people. You begin to question what's really going on. I was at COP28 in 2015. I, along other poets and leaders, performed poems and told stories about our peoples, about our regions, about how change was not just a wish, but a demand. It was clear climate change was affecting millions of people across the globe. Our voices helped inspire 196 parties to sign the Paris Agreement, from America to China, from Algeria to Sudan, from Morocco to the United Arab Emirates. Nearly 200 countries committed to hold global average temperatures to pre-industrial levels. But the work is far from finished. Later this year, COP28 will take place here in the UAE, and I hope many of you have the courage to participate in challenging discussions, to take action by collaborating with leaders and policymakers, to use your voice to shed light on the realities of climate change, and to take the position of a lifelong learner. And if you need some inspiration, just look to the water. It has taught me so much. The world below the surface, a universe all its own. Before society became an endless supermarket, a drowning of registers and barcodes. Before the ocean became a dump to quench a thirst for luxury, it was once a depth deemed sacred, a well to feed the village. We forget that we live on a blue planet, that the evening's eyes gaze upon a moving mirror. I wish to be more like the waves, to know only endless movement, so even when my fear stills my feet, my voice rushes onward like a current. If change is the only constant, then there is no constant like the sea. How terrifying it must be for a people to now fear the very thing that gave them life. I refuse a future where the ocean swallows the islands. I reject a world where the heat chars a city bone dry, where the greenhouse gas chokes the clouds for all its rain and leaves a land of crops in ash. I deny a version of reality where my people or your homes become a memory or a hard lesson. If we learn today, then tomorrow has a better chance. Every dream is rooted in imagination, and I believe our capacity can fill the gap between the deepest sea and the farthest reaches of space. From the sea to the stars, from the sea to the stars, we must dream, we must speak, we must demand. To push back against a flood of destruction, we must first become an endless tide of innovation. And although we may live on land, we're endlessly connected by the ocean, a blue bridge that links our greatest hopes, each of us a drop, each contribution a ripple, until together we become the wave of change that generations have fought for.
اليوم يمثل أولى خطواتنا نحو كوب 28. لكن كيف وصلنا إلى هنا؟ الطريق إلى كوب بدأ منذ آلاف السنين، حيث شكل إبداعنا كبشرية ملامح كوكبنا. لكن توسعنا بدأ يضر بالحياة البرية والطبيعية والبشرية أيضاً. واكتشف العلماء أن حرارة كوكبنا ترتفع بمعدلات مقلقة.
Today, as we launch the road to COP 2028, let's first ask ourselves, how did we get here? The road to COP28 stretches back thousands of years. From the dawn of humanity, our ingenuity shaped our world, but began to overflow, damaging wildlife, landscapes, and even humanity itself. And scientists discovered that our planet was heating up at an alarming rate.
حينها اجتمع قادة العالم في عام 1992 في قمة الأرض التاريخية في ريو، وأقروا اتفاقية الأمم المتحدة للمناخ. منذ حينها وحتى اليوم يجتمع أطراف هذه الاتفاقية فيما نعرفه اليوم بمؤتمر الأطراف أو COP.
And so, world leaders came together in 1992 at the Rio Earth Summit for collective action on climate change. Together, they established the UNFCCC, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Since then, the parties of this convention gather each year at the summit, known as the Conference of Parties to the UNFCCC, the COP.
رغم التقدم، ما زلنا بعيدين عن تحقيق الهدف، لكن الإمارات اليوم لديها طموح كبير أن يكون COP 28 ذكرى طيبة تجمع الإمارات بالعالم، بالأثر الذي سيحدثه وبالأمل الذي سيعززه. الطريق إلى COP 28 قد بدأ فعلاً، والمستقبل بين أيدينا الآن.
Despite progress, we still have a long way to go. The UAE is committed to making COP28 a transformational COP, one of solidarity, action, and hope. The road to COP28 has begun, and the future is in our hands.
رحبوا معي بمعالي مريم المهيري وزيرة التغير المناخي والبيئة، ومعالي شم المزروعي وزيرة تنمية المجتمع ورائدة الشباب في مؤتمر الأطراف للمناخ COP 28. وسعادة رزان المبارك رائدة الأمم المتحدة للمناخ لمؤتمر الأطراف COP 28 ورئيسة الاتحاد الدولي لحماية الطبيعة IUCN، والآنسة شيريا كيسي المتحدثة باسم دائرة المنظمات الشبابية غير الحكومية يونكو، وقائدة مجموعة عمل المساهمات المحددة وطنياً في جلسة حوارية عن الطموحات المناخية يحاورهم فيها ميتا سارمينتو.
Please welcome Her Excellency Mariam Al-Meheri, Minister of Climate Change and Environment. Her Excellency Sham Al-Mazroui, Minister of Community Development and Youth Climate Champion for COP28. Her Excellency Razan Al-Mbarak, UN Climate Change High-Level Champion for COP28 and President of the International Union for Conservation of Nature, IUCN. And Shreya KC, Yongo spokesperson and lead on NDC Working Group, to share their ambitions for COP28 in conversation with Meta Sarmiento.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I'd first like to say thank you so much for honoring us all with your presence, your time, and your energy. I'm so very excited to learn more from your wisdom that each of you possess as climate leaders, and I'm sure many in the audience are just as excited as I am. So I wanted to begin this conversation with an opening question for Your Excellency, Mariam. As many here know, sustainability was a vision of the UAE's founding father. How does the UAE plan to fulfill this vision?
First of all, Meta, let me first take in this moment. Being here at the Expo site, the center of sustainability, I really have to say, sitting here on stage and looking to all of you, thank you all for being here with us. And also a big thank you to Maali Shemma and all the team. Of course, our COP President-designate, Dr. Sultana Jabr, is also here with us today. All the teams that worked to put this together. It's such a great moment. So back to your question. I think it's a really exciting year for the UAE. First of all, it's the year of sustainability. And it's the year where we'll be hosting COP in 8 months right here. And many of you may think, okay, we're bringing now 200 countries to come here. We're going to build consensus around climate action. What's the core element of climate action? It's sustainability. To make it easy, and I usually tell my son this, sustainability is all about fulfilling the needs of current generations without compromising anything for future generations. So we have to find a delicate balance between economic growth, environmental care, and social well-being. Now, we're very lucky in the UAE that our founding father, the late Sheikh Zayed, he was a man of sustainability. He lived sustainability. And so we're very lucky that he seeded this value in who we are today. And we're living his legacy. And so, I mean, the time is not enough to actually talk of many stories he did on the conservation front. He was the one who saved so many species, the Bengal royal tiger, the Arabian oryx. He's the one who made sure that the UAE is now ranking in the top ranks when it comes to protected areas. We are also on the forefront when it comes to renewable energy, and that's all because of he understood the delicate balance between environment, respecting nature, and also growth. And so with this, I can only say we're so lucky that we're living this legacy. We were the first from the Arab countries to actually sign and ratify the Paris Agreement. We've set up the flagship Masdar city, and this is where all the renewable energies innovations are now really taking space on a global level. And we were the first in the region to also announce and work on the net zero by 2050. And for us, by the way, COP28 is not just us hosting 200 countries, it's making sure that we are saluting the vision of the late Sheikh Zayed, and we are honoring and living the legacy and making sure we're shining the torch on what he's taught us.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for showing us really how the UAE is committed to ambitious climate action. And it's clear that the UAE is striving to be a nation of firsts. That's very evident. We've heard how the UAE government is leading the way on climate action. I would now like to shift our focus to the role of non-state actors, such as those from the private sector, civil society, nonprofits, maybe even artists. And so my next question is for Your Excellency, Razan. Your Excellency, the role of the UN Climate Change High-Level Champion is to strengthen the engagement of non-state actors in supporting parties. What is the importance of non-state actors at COP28? And what are your ambitions in this role?
Thank you, Gon. Thank you for inspiring all of us. And I'd like to say that it is such a great honor to be here at the first COP28 activation event, organized by youth, and for the community at large. And it really, I hope, sends the signal of where youth are when it comes to COP28 and their inclusion that will be done not by default, ladies and gentlemen, but by true design. So the role of the high-level champion, it was a mandated role, so an agreed role by the Conference of Parties. It was agreed in Paris at COP21 out of a deep recognition and a collective recognition that climate change is a whole-of-world problem that will require a whole-of-society approach. So my role is to work, as you said, with non-state actors, and non-state actors, in essence, our UN speech for anyone that doesn't represent national governments, so civil society, youth, academia, business, investors, and so on. And so, what are my priorities? My priorities very much inspired by your poem. When we talk about climate change, it is really important that we also address the other side of the coin. So we address emissions, and we need to ensure that we do slash and cut emissions by half in 7 years, which is a huge challenge. But equally and as importantly, we need to protect nature. Nature, ladies and gentlemen, is a technology that exists today. It is a technology that we know works. It's a technology that will only cost us what it needs to be protected, and it's a technology that already exists at scale. So my priority, and the priority for COP28, is to really put nature at the heart of the climate change discourse. Another important element of COP28, and a pillar by which we will hold ourselves accountable, is the notion of inclusivity. Now, I'm not the first high-level champion. In fact, I'm the 8th high-level champion. So my priority is not to reinvent the wheel, but to really capitalize on the work of my predecessors. And here I'd like to refer to 2 really important global campaigns. The first one, addressing the issue of mitigation, is the Race to Zero, of which we have more than 11,000 participants, representing, again, all non-state actors. And then the other campaign, which is called the Race to Resilience, and it addresses the issue of adaptation. Because unfortunately, even if we do reach the 1.5 limit, people around the world are experiencing today the negative effects of climate change. And those are the most vulnerable communities that we at COP28 need to ensure that they have a substantial voice around the table. But this is a campaign essentially that works to protect 4 billion people by enhancing their resilience. So my priority within that, like I said, it's not to reinvent the wheel, but to make the wheel larger. We need more participation from this region, from Asia, from Africa, and from youth. And I'm looking at this event as a starting point for a conversation, for deeper engagement on these 2 particular campaigns and nature as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. You mentioned a refocusing on relationships with nature, and I couldn't agree more, of course. It's also truly reassuring that you're a leader who is prioritizing inclusivity in tangible ways and wanting to continue what your predecessors have done already. Continuing the thought of diversifying who gets to take lead in this climate action, my next question is actually for the climate justice advocate, Shreya. Shreya, how can young people get involved in climate negotiations, and what are your hopes for COP28?
Thank you, Meta, for asking the question. Good evening, everyone. My name is Shreya Kesi, and I'm speaking from Yongo, the official children and youth constituency of the UNFCCC. I come from Nepal, a Himalayan country that lies in the northeast of the UAE. In Nepal, we have been facing significant climate change impact, from floods and landslide to unprecedented melting of glaciers. And this is only going to increase as climate change accelerates. First of all, I would like to thank you for inviting Yongo to share our priorities and expectations for COP28. We also welcome and acknowledge the establishment of Youth Climate Champion role. For years, we have been demanding this space to tackle the complex climate issues, and indeed, it has been delivered. Yongo is looking forward to collaborating and complementing the efforts of our Excellency Samma in advocating for meaningful engagement of children and youth in the climate processes, as we are the current and future scientists, innovators, researchers, and leaders. One of the most crucial aspects of youth engagement is the building of skills, training, and awareness of the negotiation. Of course, what happens in the room, what is being discussed is important, but having the skills to translate those policy into action in the ground is equally important. It's also important to understand that adding value to the works of youth comes with a cost. And over the years, this is the discussion that parties and other organizations are not willing to engage. COP28 must be a true example of implementation, and it should show the opportunities to move the needle forward on tackling climate change. For years, young people have been calling for change and demanding accountability from the global leaders in showing a true roadmap of their commitment in reducing carbon emissions and phasing out fossil fuel, because that has been detrimental to our health, our ecosystems, our biodiversity, and also threatening our livelihoods. At COP28, there must be a dedicated day for climate education. All the countries must agree to have mandatory, integrated, and comprehensive climate education. As the saying goes, educated communities are empowered, and empowered communities are resilient. COP28 must remind those in power that this is a do or die situation. We cannot afford to wait any longer. It's either we are implementers for life or pretenders for good. We cannot be lukewarm anymore. Commitments and actions should align. Once again, I'm really honored to be here, and Yongo is looking forward to working with the COP28 Presidency and Youth Climate Champion in ensuring that young people's voice are heard strongly while we are preparing for successful COP28 and beyond. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shreya, for such an impactful response. As a teacher, I do truly appreciate that one of your asks is specifically to devote more time toward educational efforts. Education empowers us to become the change makers that we are today. And I think this is the perfect segue for my final question for Her Excellency Shama. Why did the UAE appoint a youth climate champion, and what is the significance of this role?
So let me start before even the idea of a youth climate champion. You're in the United Arab Emirates, and it's a country where the leadership believe strongly that youth are the most valuable resource and the most important asset. And that's why you will see youth at the heart and helm of every national endeavor, whether it's education, government strategy, space, etc. And climate action is no exception. If there is one global pressing problem around the world that the UAE leadership believe youth should champion, it would be climate action. And I'll tell you why. We believe that youth are the most impacted by climate change. And we all know that. Their lives, their income, their families, their sense of security is all at stake. And that's why you see youth the most committed, most energized, most passionate about climate change. Climate change is very complex. It's not simple. It needs us to rethink, redesign, and reimagine how we live, how we eat, how we work, how we consume, how we produce. And it needs new potential. Young people bring a new baggage of ideas and potential that are boundless. They don't bring the business as usual. The other point is, there's 4.4 billion people below the age of 35. 1.2 billion between the ages of 15 to 35. Youth are going to inherit the planet. But where are we with youth access to decision-making that affects the future and the planet that they inherit? There's a big gap. But that 4.4 billion people are students, they're entrepreneurs, they lead social movements, economic trends, they are leading so many different conventional value systems. They are willing to be the change. That is power. And the UAE has harnessed and understood that power years ago. What we're doing right now is how can we take that UAE empowerment model global and moving it into global climate action. There has been 27 COPs. And I'm not saying we haven't moved the dial. Yongo has moved the dial. But you'll notice the rate of increase of youth activist groups and advocacy is exponential. Compare it to the rate of youth in decision-making access. Not yet there. That gap is what we're here to bridge. And the Youth Climate Champion team in the UAE is determined to create a new status quo for youth engagement, youth involvement, and advocating for youth voice. You'll say, how did the UAE create a strategy for youth? We didn't have it from vacuum. We didn't invent it from National Youth. It's been 2 years where we've been doing consultations with young people to understand their needs and priorities. Since COP26 and Youth for Climate at Milan, and then COP27, and today we have Dr. Omnia with us as well. She's the envoy on youth in Egypt. She has moved the dial. We're here to carry on and continue that bridge as the UAE. And in our consultations, we heard 4 words that the youth keep repeating that they need. And this is going to be our pillars for COP28. PAVE, paving the way. And I'll tell you what P stands for: participation, A for action, V for voice, E for education. What does participation include? Well, it is ensuring that we mainstream and champion reforms for the participation of youth in COP, during COP, and along the COP presidency. Action. Let us create spaces and opportunities for youth climate action outside of the negotiations. V for voice. Let us relay the voice of all global youth, not just those that come from developed countries, but yes, small island developed states, least developing countries, indigenous communities. Let us ensure their voice is included pre, during, and post-COP. And that's the beauty. The president of COP28 put the Youth Climate Champion team within the leadership team of COP. So the Youth Climate Champion team is driving the COP agenda, and you have youth directly there. The last is education. How can we have young people included if we did not equip them with the knowledge to be at the same level playing field, to be able to influence decisions and outcomes in November, unless they have the right knowledge and skills for that? So that's basically the 4 pillars that the Youth Climate Champion team is working on. And today, the example of the Road to COP event that happened throughout the morning is just a small example of how when you let youth participate, today this whole event is designed by youth. I want to thank the youth of the UAE from all different nationalities who participated in making this happen today. Thank you for imagining with all your mind and believing with all your heart and acting with all your might to make today happen, because today is just the start. Today, the achievements that have happened with collaborating with different organizations and bringing people from around the world to share their voice is a big milestone. We're sending a new narrative of what it means to host COP. A COP that is inclusive of everyone. And just like ecosystems need biodiversity to thrive, societies as well need that diversity to bring this new potential to life. And that's what we hope to do. But there's one point, and Minister Mariam mentioned, sustainability is in the DNA of our founding father. Youth Climate Champion is not just for COP28. We want it to be the new normal for all COPs. We want every hosting country of COP to continue this, but to build on it and hopefully outgrow and create a turning point for youth involvement, because they will bring limitless potential and value to driving climate change forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for that inspiring insight. What a move to make and institutionalize youth empowerment and guarantee that it's mainstreamed. In the circle of poets and artists that I grew up in, we have a saying, the next generation can speak for itself. And I truly believe that the Youth Climate Champion and beyond is a shining example of this. In closing, I'd like to express gratitude for all of your time and energy. And as a final thank you, I'd like to ask those in attendance for a last round of applause for our honored panelists tonight.
رحبوا معي فضلاً بمعالي الدكتور سلطان الجابر، وزير الصناعة والتكنولوجيا المتقدمة المبعوث الخاص لدولة الإمارات للتغير المناخي كوب 28 ورئيس المعين لمؤتمر الأطراف كوب 28. فليتفضل مشكوراً لإلقاء كلمته.
Please join us in welcoming His Excellency Dr. Sultan Al Jaber, the Minister of Industry and Advanced Technology, Special Envoy for Climate Change, and COP28 President Designate, to the stage to share a few words.
Assalamu alaikum. Your Highnesses, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, special greetings to the community at large and to the young people present here with us this evening. I am indeed very happy to be here and to be given the opportunity to participate in this very special event. I want to thank our wise leadership, my colleagues, the ministers, and in particular, our COP28 Youth Climate Champion, Her Excellency Shamma Al-Mazrou'i, together with all the teams for putting together this very important and timely event. It is great to see so many people from the United Arab Emirates and from around the world with us here today. This gathering and its activities throughout the day have been a perfect opportunity to listen and engage with the voices of youth on the global challenge of climate change. Your active participation today is a clear demonstration of your deep understanding and commitment to addressing the climate challenge. The UAE has always addressed global challenges head-on, tackled adversity with optimism, and embraced the future with a positive mindset. We have been guided by our leadership that has put our people at the heart of our development. In fact, just look around you. Who would have imagined that we would have come so far, so fast? In a little over 50 years, we have made incredible progress through partnerships and through building bridges with the international community. Just think where we are right now, the site of Expo 2020 Dubai. What was barren land just a few years ago became a global hub and a global destination. Under the guidance of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, Expo 2020 was the definition of inclusivity, welcoming people from every single country in the world to connect minds and create the future. And under the leadership and auspices of our President, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, COP28 will unite the world again at this very site in November later this year to seek solutions that benefit all of humanity while securing a better future for tomorrow. And as we prepare to host COP28, we approach this role with humility, a deep sense of responsibility, and a great sense of urgency. Our leadership has always balanced economic growth with environmental responsibility. and we have embedded climate action into our development strategy. Sustainability, respect for nature, and protecting biodiversity is well rooted in our traditions and in our values. We have led the region in developing more energy with minimal or zero emissions. And we are building a pathway to a low-carbon, high-growth future, creating new skills, new technologies, new industries, new jobs, and new hope. We may not know what the future holds, but we know who holds the future. It is you, our young people. Ladies and gentlemen, we know that climate change affects everybody, but it affects our world's 2 billion young people more than most, especially in the most vulnerable countries. They are exposed to worsening climate impacts, from flooding and droughts to food and water insecurity. And the health impacts of climate change, from air pollution to waterborne diseases, continue to take a toll on people who have the fewest resources to cope. But young people like you are always at the forefront of addressing the climate challenge. You are leading the way by sharing your perspectives, bringing your creativity and energy, and contributing to the positive impact that the world needs. Simply put, you are meeting hard times with true hope. Young entrepreneurs like Marianne Gichanga are using agri-tech to develop drought-resistant crops in Kenya. Students from Fiji have pioneered solar power to provide clean energy for their community. And here in the United Arab Emirates, Lamis bin Harib has founded the Arab world's first biodegradable packaging company. These are just few examples of what you can do when you harness your potential to meet the global challenge we face. Later this year, tens of thousands of delegates from around the world will gather here at Expo City Dubai to advance climate progress. COP28 will mark the first global stocktake, a comprehensive assessment of progress against the goals of the Paris Agreement. We don't need to wait for the stocktake to know what it will say. We already know that we are way off track. The world is playing catch-up when it comes to the key goal of keeping global temperatures from rising 1.5 degrees. And the hard reality is that in order to achieve this goal, global emissions must fall 43% by 2030. We have to rapidly reduce emissions, increase energy efficiency, and consume more responsibly. We need to quickly adapt to climate impacts while helping others to adapt in more vulnerable countries. And we need to massively scale up finance, share best practices, and leverage technology across the board. This is an all-of-nation exercise for every nation on Earth. We need to be pragmatic, practical, realistic, and optimistic. And we need to capture what is needed in a comprehensive action plan for the planet and for its people. This can only work by uniting everyone in a combined effort. And that means everyone, including young people like yourselves. Your passion and drive will be essential to reigniting progress. That is why I am excited to announce the International Youth Climate Delegate Program for COP28, the largest initiative of its kind, working closely with YONGO, the youth arm of the UNFCCC. The program will empower 100 young people from around the world to fully participate in COP28. This initiative will give a special focus to least developed countries and small island states. And it will give all participants the training, resources, and opportunity to advocate on behalf of their countries and their communities. In the last few months, myself and my COP28 team have been on a listening tour across Europe, Africa, America, and Asia. Everywhere I go, I make a point of meeting young people, and I am encouraged by what I hear time and again. You want to be involved, you want to be included, you want to contribute, and you want to make a difference. So let me make this pledge to you. COP28 will be defined by the inclusivity and diversity that defines the UAE, a nation of 200 nationalities that is strengthened by all the perspectives they bring. Ladies and gentlemen, we all share the risks of climate change. It is time to share the ambitions. To all who call the UAE their home, let me say this. The UAE is a global champion for climate action. Today, we need every individual to be a climate action champion. We are calling for COP28 to be a COP of action, a COP of impact, and a COP for all. We want to leverage the input, insights, and efforts of every segment of society. That means including young people and ensuring their active and effective participation. So let me call on all the parties to the UNFCCC. Please include young people in your delegations and give them the opportunity to participate in a meaningful way. And let me send this message to the young people here with us this evening. As future leaders, future scientists, future entrepreneurs, and future climate activists, your energy, your youth is what will make the difference. Positive change begins with awareness. Learn as much as you can about the climate challenge. Bring your passion, your focus, and your courage to the task of meeting that challenge and turn it into an opportunity. You can bring the energy that turns problems into possibilities. We are counting on you to help deliver real and tangible results. Together, let's connect minds and co-create a better future for all. Thank you.
شكراً معاليكم على كلماتكم الملهمة وجهودكم القيادية لريادة عمل مناخي شامل يشرك الجميع. الالتزام بتحقيق طموحاتنا المناخية يستحق الابتهاج، فرحبوا معي رجاءً بالفنانة الإماراتية فاطمة الهاشمي، والتي ستؤدي لنا أغنية قلب بلا حرس في حب أبونا زايد الله يرحمه.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your inspiring words and your leadership in driving inclusive and comprehensive climate action. commitment to climate ambition deserves a celebration. Now, please join us in welcoming Fatma Al-Hashimi, Emirati artist and musician, for a special performance in the loving memory of the late Sheikh Zayed.
أحب صوتك كم صيغت به حكم ومن يديك تجلى ها هنا الكرم أحب صوتك كم صيغت به حكم ومن يديك تجلى ها هنا الكرم أحب وجهك مشتاقون نحن إلى تلك الملامح تفدي بشرها الأمم أحب وجهك مشتاقون نحن إلى تلك الملامح تفدي بشرها الأمم قد جئت ضحكة فجر كيف ننكرها وعشت همة شخص عنده حلم قد جئت ضحكة فجر كيف ننكرها وعشت همة شخص عنده حلم أحب أنك فينا لم تمت أبدا لازلت تهطل خيرا ثم تبتسم أحب أنك فينا لم تمت أبدا لازلت تهطل خيرا ثم تبتسم نعم نحبك يا قلبا بلا حرس أحب يوما أحب الناس كلهم أحب أنك فينا لم تمت أبدا لازلت تعطل خيرا ثم تبتسم أحب أنك فينا لم تمت
اليوم وأكثر من أي وقت مضى كوكبنا بحاجة إلينا جميعاً. نحن بحاجة إلى القادة الذين يوحدوننا، إلى العلماء القادرين على إيجاد الحلول.
Now more than ever, our planet needs us. We need the leaders to unite us, the smart ones to invent solutions, and the scientists to keep us on track.
نحتاج المعلمين الذين يدربون على المهارات الخضراء. نحتاج الفنانين الملهمين والمؤثرين القادرين على حمل رسالتنا لأبعد مدى. نحتاج مربي النحل، المزارعين، نحتاج المهندسين والأطباء، نحتاج المبادرين والرواد والمبتكرين، نحتاج الحالمين.
We need educators to teach us green skills, artists to inspire us, influencers to amplify the message. We need beekeepers, farmers, engineers, and doctors. We need negotiators, builders, and believers.
نحتاج للجميع. العمل المناخي مسؤوليتنا جميعاً. نحتاج إليك أنت، إليك أنت، وإليكم أنتم هناك. نحتاج إلى طاقة كل واحد منا لنمضي معاً في الطريق إلى كوب 28.
Yes, Metha. Climate action is the responsibility of all of us. We need all of you. Let's embark together on the road to COP28.